Hi everyone. Tonight, we are heading into darkness. Into cold so fierce your breath turns to ice crystals before it leaves your lips. You're gripping the frozen rail of a medieval pirate ship as it cuts through black Arctic waters. The deck beneath you slick with frost. The wind howling like a wounded beast. The sails above frozen stiff as corpses. And you wonder, how did these men close their eyes and sleep when death whispered from every shadow? But they did. They survived. And tonight, you're going to discover how. So before we step into their world, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I create here. And while you're at it, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it where you are right now? Now, take a breath. Settle in. Dim the lights if you can. Let the darkness come, and step with me into their world. You move across the ice-slick deck, each footstep uncertain, the frost crunching softly beneath your boots. It's the deepest part of night, hours before dawn. The kind of darkness that feels solid, that presses against your eyes and makes you question what's real. The ship rocks gently beneath you, almost mockingly peaceful, while the cold tightens its grip on everything it touches. Above, the sails hang rigid, frozen canvas stretched tight as drum skin, creaking like old bones whenever the ship shifts. Ice coats the rigging in thick white layers, transforming familiar rope into strange, glittering sculptures. A lantern swings near the mainmast, its flame barely visible through the fog that rises from the water like something living, like breath from the sea itself. The light catches on ice crystals suspended in the air, making the whole world shimmer and blur. Your fingers are already numb despite your gloves. Your breath puffs white against the black sky, then disappears. You've only been on deck for minutes, and already you can feel the cold working its way deeper, past your coat, past your skin, settling into your bones. Below deck, you hear them. The men who somehow sleep in this frozen hell. A cough, wet and deep. Someone muttering, a prayer, maybe, or just fevered rambling. The creak of hammocks swaying with the ship's movement. And beneath it all, the constant groan of the ship itself, wood straining against the ice that wants to crush it. The smell reaches you, salt and tar, thick and sharp. But mixed with it, something sour, unwashed wool soaked with sweat and seawater. Spoiled provisions. Mildew. The accumulated stench of men living too close together for too long. It should be overwhelming, but the cold dulls even this, making everything feel distant, dreamlike. This is where they lived. This is where they closed their eyes and somehow, impossibly, found sleep. And tonight, we're going to find out how. Your first full step onto the deck sends a jolt through your leg. The planks aren't just cold, they're treacherous, coated in ice so thin it's nearly invisible. Your boot slides before finding purchase, and your hand shoots out to grip the nearest rope. It feels like iron under your palm, frozen solid, the fibers sharp enough to cut. The ship groans beneath you. Not the comfortable creaking of wood on water, but something deeper. A sound of suffering. Wood contracts with sharp cracks that sound like breaking bones. This isn't a vessel sailing. This is something being slowly crushed. Around you, shapes move in the darkness. The crew. Hunched figures wrapped in layers of mismatched fabric, moving with careful, economical motions. Wasted movement means wasted warmth. One passes close enough that you see frost clinging to his beard like he's already half frozen. He doesn't look at you. None of them do. Their eyes stay down, focused on hands, feet, the next task. Speech has frozen along with everything else. The cold isn't just around you, it's working against you. Already you feel it finding ways in through your collar, through your boot seams. It crawls up your legs like something patient and alive. This is the cold of the North Atlantic in deepest winter, the Baltic ice fields, the frozen English Channel where medieval raiders once prowled. The kind that kills quietly, stealing feeling from your fingers before you notice they've stopped working. You watch an older sailor work barehanded on a frozen knot. When he finishes, he reaches into a pouch and withdraws something dark and viscous. Whale oil. He rubs it between his palms, then methodically works it into each finger, coating the skin with a sheen that catches what little light exists. Primitive, but you see the logic, a thin barrier between flesh and air that wants to freeze it. The smell hits you as the wind shifts. Tar, thick and ancient. Salt absorbed into every surface. Beneath that, wet wool, unwashed, the accumulated sweat of men living too close together. And something else, harder to name. Desperation, maybe. The sour smell of bodies pushed to their limits. Beyond the bow, darkness is absolute. No moon. No stars. Just black water and blacker sky, indistinguishable. And standing here, feeling the ship groan, watching these men move through their frozen routines, you wonder, how? How did they descend below and close their eyes? How did they surrender to unconsciousness when consciousness seemed the only thing keeping the cold at bay? The question hangs in the frozen air, unanswered. The ladder down is slick with ice near the top, wet lower down. Your hands find the rungs by feel, there's no light, just faint glow from above that dies within steps. The descent feels like falling in slow motion, each step taking you into air that's warmer but harder to breathe. You smell it first. The air is thick with unwashed bodies packed too close for too long. Sweat soaked into hammocks. Mold creeping through damp wood. Salt stiffening every fabric rough as canvas. It's survival without dignity, men reduced to basic needs. Your eyes adjust. Shapes emerge, hammocks, dozens of them, swaying with the ship's movement like cocoons suspended in gloom. They hang so close you could touch three at once. Men sleep curled inside, wrapped in stolen sailcloth, some lined with fur scraps that might have been a merchant's coat or nobleman's cloak. You understand why hammocks. When the ship rolls violently, these men sway with it instead of being thrown from bunks, moving in rhythm with the vessel that's both prison and salvation. The sounds create strange music. Snoring in different pitches. Wood groaning against the sea. Water dripping in darkness, drip, 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 keeping time. The rhythmic creak of swaying rope. It should be chaos, but it forms a hypnotic pattern, a lullaby of survival. Near the center, a man tends something precious. An ember. Just one coal glowing in an iron box, barely visible, but he watches it like gold. The heart of the ship? Keep it alive through the night, and in morning there's fire. Let it die, and they start from nothing in frozen dawn. He feeds it the smallest scraps, a rope thread, a wood splinter, just enough to keep it breathing. You notice weapons everywhere. Knives tucked into belts even in sleep. A cudgel within arm's reach. An axe leaning against the hull. No one sleeps defenseless. Whether they fear the sea breaking through, the cold, or each other, you can't tell. Maybe all three. Paranoia and practicality are the same thing here. There's no privacy in this darkness. Bodies pressed close, breathing the same air, sharing warmth whether they want to or not. You hear intimate sounds, grinding teeth, whimpered nightmares, whispered prayers. Survival isn't individual. It's collective. They sleep because everyone sleeps. They survive because everyone must. The swaying continues, endless and gentle. Despite everything, the smell, the sounds, the closeness, you feel it working on you. The hypnotic rhythm. The dark warmth. This is how they did it. Not by conquering the cold, but by accepting this strange, communal surrender. You climb back toward the deck, leaving dark warmth for biting cold. The transition shocks your lungs, and you understand why the men below stayed huddled as long as possible. Up here, you need different armor. The crew moves around you, and now you see them clearly. No uniforms. No matching anything. One wears what might have been a soldier's coat, buttons gone, held with rope. Another wraps himself in dark fabric that could be a priest's robe, the hem torn and salt-crusted. A third wears what looks like a woman's skirt, cut and resewn into something between cloak and blanket, faint embroidery still visible beneath grime. They're wearing stories. Every piece tells of a raid, a theft, a desperate exchange. Nothing matches because matching doesn't matter. Only warmth. Only survival. You watch one man adjust his layers. Wool against skin, rough, unwashed, but it traps heat even wet. Over that, yellowed linen. Then canvas outside, or maybe seal hide. It's a system built through trial and error, through watching men freeze who didn't layer right. Before closing his outer layer, he reaches for a small tin. Seal fat. He rubs it across his face. Cheeks, nose, forehead, until skin gleams. Then his hands, coating each finger. It smells rank, but you understand. Another barrier. Another few degrees between flesh and freezing. Frost has formed on beards, turning dark hair white and brittle. Men wrap scarves around throats, not once but twice, 3 times, until only eyes remain visible. One mutters something as he ties his scarf, words you can't catch, but the tone is prayer or superstition. The old belief that cold carries spirits, that they crawl into your lungs through your mouth and freeze you from inside. The scarf becomes protection against more than wind. In the half-light before dawn, they look like ghosts themselves. Frost-covered figures moving through fog, breath-forming clouds that hang behind them. There's terrible beauty to it, ice catching on fabric, frozen beards glittering when they turn. But it's the beauty of desperation, of men pushed to the edge of what bodies endure. No one moves with pride. No one stands tall. Vanity died the first night, frozen like everything else. These aren't the fearsome pirates of stories. They're just men, cold, tired, desperate, wearing whatever keeps them breathing another hour. And you realize, they weren't heroes. They didn't conquer the cold through courage or strength. They survived by being practical, by using every scrap, by accepting ugliness if it meant warmth. They survived by becoming whatever the cold demanded. You follow the smoke, thin, barely visible, but your nose finds it. The smell of something burning, something cooking. It leads you to a cramped space near the stern where the galley hunches like a secret. The fire is smaller than expected. Dangerously small, contained in an iron box barely larger than a bread loaf. The cook tends it with the concentration of a man defusing a bomb. Too much flame and the ship burns. Too little and the crew starves cold. He feeds it wood splinters one at a time, coaxing heat without risking destruction. The warmth reaches maybe a foot, but men gather anyway, hands outstretched like worshippers at an altar. The food is brutal. Hardtack stacked in a barrel, biscuits so hard they could break teeth. You watch a man drop one into rum, letting it soak soft enough to chew. An old sailor's trick, turning alcohol into medicine and meal. Beside the hardtack, salted meat soaks in grey water, brine leaching away. In a pot over the fire, something bubbles that might be stew. Grey liquid, a few floating meat pieces, maybe a vegetable that gave up its colour weeks ago. The cook stirs it with a wooden spoon worn smooth, and you notice his humming. Barely audible, almost under his breath, but it's there, a tune that doesn't matter. It's the sound of a man refusing to let this place take everything. Near the fire, stones heat in sand. Portable warmth. Men will take these below, wrap them in cloth, hold them against bodies or feet. They'll stay warm maybe an hour before becoming just more cold weight. The crew gathers as the cook ladles portions. You see it immediately, every eye tracking the spoon, counting. 1 ladle, 2. Is his portion larger? Did the cook favor him? The tension is thick as the stew. No one speaks, but everyone watches. Hunger has made them accountants, measuring survival in spoonfuls. Rum passes hand to hand. Men take small sips, letting it burn down their throats. False warmth, you know this, they know this, but it's comfort nonetheless. For a moment, the cold retreats. You watch them eat in silence, hunched over bowls, protective. This isn't a meal. It's ritual. It's communion. Every calorie is treasure. Every moment near the fire is wealth beyond gold. They eat slowly, making it last, because when it's gone, there's only cold again. And you understand, survival here is measured in the smallest units. A spoonful. A sip. A splinter of warmth. The bell rings. 2 strikes, clear and cold. It's the only clock that matters out here, the only way to mark time when day and night blur into grey nothing. 2 bells. Middle watch. Somewhere around 1 in the morning, though the exact hour has stopped meaning anything. Men move in response, a slow exchange. Those who've been on watch stumble below, and those who've been trying to sleep drag themselves up. But you notice, the ones going down aren't quite awake, and the ones coming up aren't quite asleep. They exist somewhere between, in a twilight state where consciousness is negotiable. For hours. That's all the sleep they get, if you can call it sleep. For hours before the bell calls them back. On winter voyages, some get less. Some get none, bodies too frozen, too alert to danger to fully let go. You watch one man take position at the rail, standing watch. But he doesn't sit. He stands, swaying with the ship, eyes half closed. His body has learned to sleep upright, to steal rest in stolen moments while remaining functional enough to shout if something changes. A skill born of necessity. Another begins to hum. Quiet, then louder. Not quite song, just low, rhythmic sound. His hand taps the rail. Tap, tap, tap. A technique to stay conscious, to keep the mind from sliding into dangerous territory where men make fatal mistakes. A third joins, then a fourth. They're not making music. They're keeping rhythm with the ship, with each other, with their own heartbeats. At the wheel, the helmsman grips frozen handles with cloth-wrapped hands already soaked with blood. The wheel fights him in this cold, and he fights back, his grip never loosening even as fingers go numb, then dead, then beyond dead. His eyes are open but distant, focused on something you can't see. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. You feel it starting, the confusion. Did you blink, or did you sleep? Was that voice in the wind real, or did your mind create it from howls and creaks? You see shapes in mist that might be ice, might be hallucinations, might be something else. Exhaustion creates worlds that don't exist. The men don't fight it anymore. Fighting exhaustion is a losing battle. Instead, they negotiate. They take what sleep they can, where they can, however it comes. Standing, sitting, eyes open, closed, it doesn't matter. They've blurred the line so completely their bodies no longer distinguish between consciousness and unconsciousness. And you understand, this is survival. Not alertness, not rest, but something between. A constant state of half-existence where the mind never fully engages and never fully retreats. You find them in the darkest corners below deck, where light doesn't reach. At first, you think they're sleeping, but then you smell it, illness has a scent distinct from unwashed bodies. Sharper. Sweeter. Wrong. It mixes with tar and salt until the air itself feels sick. One man lies in his hammock, mouth open, gums bleeding dark against his teeth. Scurvy. You recognize it from the grayish skin, the dull sunken eyes. He barely moves when you pass, just tracks you with those eyes, too tired to turn his head. How long has he been like this? Days? Weeks? Time moves differently in the dark. Another shows you his hands without being asked. The fingers are mottled white and grey, patches spreading like frost. Frostbite. The flesh doesn't look dead yet, but it's getting there, turning from living tissue into something else. He flexes his fingers slowly, testing whether they still obey. Some do. Some don't. In the corner, a man shivers violently despite layers wrapped around him. Fever. His body is fighting infection, cold, exhaustion, all at once. He's burning up and freezing, caught between extremes. Someone has placed heated stones near him. Someone else has rubbed vinegar on his chest, the smell sharp and medicinal. Someone whispers prayers. These are the treatments. This is all they have. You watch as two men lift a third, wrapped in canvas. He's not moving. They carry him with practiced efficiency, no ceremony, no words. On deck, they'll give him to the sea. No burial on land, no marker, no grave. Just dark water and the certainty he won't be the last. The sick are pushed to the edges, isolated in darkest spaces. It's not cruelty, not exactly. It's survival. Keep the sickness contained. When the cold gets inside, when it starts winning, you become a risk to everyone. No doctor can fix it. No medicine can cure it. There's only waiting to see if the body fights back or gives up. The crew pretends not to notice. They walk past sick corners without looking, without speaking. To acknowledge it is to invite it closer, to admit any of them could be next. The silence before death is thick, deliberate. But sometimes you see it, small acts breaking through. A blanket shared. A hand briefly on a shoulder. A whispered prayer that might be for the sick man or for the one saying it. Rough compassion from men who've learned that softness is dangerous but haven't forgotten they're human. And you understand, the cold killed slowly, patiently, inevitably. But it always killed. You feel it before you see it. The wind shifts. Waves grow, their rhythm changing from steady to chaotic. The air presses down. The men know. You see it in how they move, faster, checking lines, securing anything loose. Then it arrives. Not gradually, but all at once. The storm simply is, as if it's always been waiting. Wind becomes roar. Waves become walls. Sleep forgotten. Exhaustion forgotten. Only survival now. All hands on deck. Men pour up from below, taking positions held 100 times. The ropes are frozen stiff, fighting back. Sails are heavy with ice, resisting. You watch men climb rigging with knives between teeth, hacking at ice before the weight snaps masts. They move like spiders, clinging to frozen lines while the ship pitches beneath them. Lightning splits the sky, and for one brilliant moment you see everything, frozen spray suspended like crystals, waves towering above deck, men's faces stark white. Thunder follows, merging with crack and groan of ice breaking, wood straining. You can't tell where one sound ends and another begins. The captain is lashed to the wheel, ropes around his waist. His voice is raw from shouting orders that barely carry. The wheel spins, nearly tears from his grip, but he holds. Has to hold. A wave lifts the ship impossibly high, hangs it there, then slams it down. Your bones rattle. Water crashes over deck, freezing before it drains. Someone starts singing. Loud, almost shouting. Others join, a sea shanty, rough and rhythmic. Not beauty. Technique. Singing so their minds don't notice fingers going numb, bodies shutting down.
The work continues. Pulling, securing, climbing, cutting ice. Time loses meaning. An hour? 3? 6? The storm continues, relentless. Terror and something else, exhilaration, maybe madness, blur together. You're fighting together. Surviving together. Each small victory feels monumental. Then, as suddenly as it began, it stops. Wind drops. Waves calm. The silence is shocking, almost painful. Men slump where they stand, some sitting on frozen deck, some leaning against whatever's nearest. Too exhausted even for relief. Too exhausted for anything except breathing. The ship is battered. Broken in places. But afloat. And you understand, this was their battle. No glory, no victory parade. They won simply by surviving. By still being here when the storm passed. By refusing to let the sea take them. Not today. Morning comes, and you see what the storm left behind. Ice. Thick, unbroken ice stretching everywhere, pressing against the hull like a fist slowly closing. The water that churned violently hours ago has gone still, locked solid, trapping the ship. The silence is worse than the storm. At least wind and waves were something to fight. This is different. This is the silence of being held, of waiting, of knowing ice is stronger than wood. Even the wind has stopped, as if the world holds its breath. You listen. All the men listen. Waiting for the song of ice. That high whistling that means pressure is building, that ice is about to squeeze, that the ship has minutes before its hull cracks. The sound doesn't come. Not yet. But it will. Men work with axes and hammers, chipping at ice on deck, railings, rigging. The work is endless. Futile, maybe. For every chunk removed, the cold creates more. But they chip anyway because stopping means accepting they're trapped. The psychological weight settles like fog. No forward movement. No progress. Just this frozen prison and time stretching with no end visible. You see it in their faces, quiet desperation, questions no one asks aloud. How long can we last? Will the ice ever release us? Someone opens a treasure chest. Gold coins spill onto the deck, glinting dully. No one moves to collect them. What good is gold when you're freezing? Starving? The chest stays open, contents ignored. Worthless. What matters now are smaller things. The ship's cat curls near a man's chest, and he holds it, grateful for warmth. Someone shares an ember, passing it hand to hand. Companionship. Warmth. These are the real treasures. But tension builds. You hear whispers in corners. Mutiny. Blame. Someone must be responsible. The captain, maybe. Bad luck. Bad decisions. The whispers grow. Then the sky changes. Green light ripples across darkness, then gold, then green again. The aurora borealis, painting the sky in colors that shouldn't exist in this frozen hell. Every man stops. Stops working, stops whispering, stops everything. They simply watch. Some believe the lights are spirits. Others say omens, messages from God, heaven's fire. It doesn't matter what they are. What matters is they're beautiful. Impossibly, heartbreakingly beautiful. The cold is forgotten. The ice is forgotten. There's only this. Light dancing across sky, turning the frozen landscape into something otherworldly. For this moment, they're not trapped. They're witness to something beyond survival, beyond suffering. Beauty has found its way in, even here. And you understand, hope doesn't come from logic. It comes from moments like this. You hear it first. A crack. Then another. Not violent breaking, but something gentler, ice releasing, giving way. The sound carries like a whisper of possibility. Hope, returning. Then you see it. Sunlight. Faint, filtered through clouds gray for weeks, but unmistakably there. Real light. The kind that doesn't just illuminate but promises. The ship shudders. Moves. Just slightly at first, but its movement, freedom after days of being held. The ice is letting go. In the first real light, you look at the crew's faces. Gaunt. Scarred. Beards matted with ice and salt. Eyes sunken from exhaustion and hunger. But alive. Undeniably, impossibly alive. Someone starts to sing. His voice is rough, cracked, but others join. Not a sea shanty this time. Something slower, almost reverent. Their voices unite, rough but together, and it's the most beautiful sound you've heard. You'll learn later, some sailors couldn't sleep on land after voyages like this. They needed the ship's motion. Their bodies had forgotten stillness, adapted so completely to the sea that solid ground felt wrong. The men moved closer to each other now without thinking. Sharing warmth through proximity has become instinct. The lesson learned, alone, you freeze. Together, you survive. The captain stands at the rail, quiet. You see something in his face, gratitude, relief, exhaustion. He carried the weight of every life on this ship, and somehow, impossibly, most made it through. And you understand it now, fully. Survival wasn't individual. It never was. It was men sharing blankets, embers, prayers. It was accepting vulnerability and finding strength in each other. The modern world you came from, the one that values independence, has lost something these men knew in their bones. The ship moves south, toward warmer waters. The air changes degree by degree. The ice releases its grip, literal and metaphorical thaw happening together. The final night arrives different. Stars are visible, scattered across clear sky. The crew settles into hammocks without the usual tension, the usual fear. For the first time, they sleep peacefully. Real sleep, not the half-conscious survival state they've maintained for weeks. Fog rolls in, but it's soft now. Protective. The sea is calm, almost kind, rocking them gently. And you realize, medieval pirates survived not through conquest or courage alone. They survived because they accepted how small they were against nature's vastness. They found strength in community when individual strength failed. They adapted instead of fighting. The sounds gentle, water lapping against the hull, breathing soft and steady, the creak of rope now familiar and comforting. Sleep comes easily now. The darkness is no longer something to fear. It's rest. Finally, truly, rest.